In the past 6 months, there has been a significant decline in credit card usage, signaling a potential economic slowdown. This phenomenon is often observed during recessions, where consumer behavior shifts, not necessarily because of reduced spending power, but due to a broader perception of an unstable economic landscape, particularly concerning the labor market. Falling credit card usage does not directly indicate a massive drop in spending. Instead, it reflects consumers' concerns about job security and future income prospects. It is a form of cautious behavior, signaling that people are anticipating tough times ahead and are cutting back on risk-taking behavior, like revolving credit. This behavior mirrors how consumer confidence indexes do not always translate directly into spending patterns, but serve as an indicator of the broader economic mood. The use of credit cards is intricately linked with the labor market. As consumers feel uncertain about job stability, they begin to restrict credit usage. This trend aligns closely with rising unemployment rates, suggesting that people are not only worried about their financial future, but also acting on those concerns by reducing their credit card balances. This cautious approach can be seen as a survival mechanism when faced with the possibility of layoffs, reduced hours, or stagnant wages. Interestingly, this pattern is highly reflective of job market conditions. A reduction in revolving consumer credit often correlates with a rising unemployment rate. It acts as an early warning signal of worsening labor conditions before it becomes evident in official unemployment statistics. The drop in credit card usage reflects the broader anxiety about the economy's future trajectory, driven largely by consumer perceptions of a shrinking job market. In times of economic uncertainty, consumer behavior changes noticeably. As credit card balances shrink, it becomes evident that people are worried about future employment prospects. They begin to cut back on discretionary spending and prioritize saving, preparing for potential downturns. This trend was most visible during the early months of 2024, as consumers' use of credit cards dwindled, reflecting their growing concerns about job security. During the first stages of a recession, this pattern of behavior is common. Consumers brace themselves for tough times ahead by cutting back on unnecessary expenses. Even before job losses become widespread, the fear of losing income drives people to reduce their reliance on credit. This hesitancy to use credit cards signals a deeper worry about the economic environment. A closer look at the first quarter of 2024 reveals an interesting shift. In March and April, consumers began to change their credit behavior dramatically. This shift was closely tied to a changing labor market, as consumers began to perceive fewer job opportunities and reduced hours at work. The initial optimism that had followed strong payroll numbers in early 2024 started to fade as consumers confronted the reality of a tightening labor market. In March, payroll data had painted a rosy picture of the U.S. economy. Employment numbers surged, and there was a sense that the economy was resilient, defying the caution many economists had predicted. However, this optimism was short-lived. Despite the strong headline figures, the underlying data showed a different story, one of declining hours worked, slower job creation, and a labor market that was losing momentum. As consumers recognized these signs, they began pulling back on credit card use. The strength of payroll numbers in March created a sense of false security. Media outlets and analysts alike seized on these numbers as evidence that the economy was stronger than it appeared. This narrative overlooked critical data points, including falling credit card usage and weakening consumer confidence, which were clear indicators that the economy was under strain. The reality was that while payroll numbers looked impressive, they masked deeper problems. The labor market was not as robust as the headline figures suggested. Companies were hiring fewer workers, and those who were employed were seeing reductions in their hours. This meant that while the total number of jobs appeared to increase, the quality of those jobs was deteriorating. As a result, consumers responded by tightening their belts, cutting back on credit, and preparing for tougher times. Consumer credit data. A warning sign. The latest consumer credit report from the Federal Reserve for August 2024 underscores this trend. Total consumer credit growth has slowed, with revolving credit, mostly credit card balances, showing a significant decline. In August alone, revolving credit dropped by $1.35 billion, marking the largest decline since 2021. This follows a small decline in June, further solidifying the trend that Americans are cutting back on credit card use in response to the labor market's weakening. Over the last 6 months, consumer credit behavior has shifted markedly. While consumers had previously used credit cards to cope with rising prices and eroding purchasing power, they now appear more hesitant to rely on credit. The rapid decline in revolving credit use is a clear signal that consumers are feeling less secure in their financial futures, especially when it comes to employment prospects. The relationship between credit card usage and economic cycles is well established. Historically, declining credit card balances have been a consistent predictor of recessions. When consumers start pulling back on their credit usage, it is often a reflection of broader economic concerns, particularly about the labor market. This behavior has been observed in previous recessions, including the Great Recession of 2008 and the Recession of 2001. In both cases, credit card usage dropped as consumers anticipated job losses and reduced income. The same pattern is playing out in 2024. Despite relatively strong employment numbers on the surface, consumers are picking up on underlying weaknesses in the labor market. As a result, they are using credit less, paying down their balances, and preparing for potential downturns. The trend of falling credit card usage is not unique to the US globally. Similar patterns are emerging, particularly in advanced economies like Japan. In Japan, economic indicators have been signaling a slowdown for months, with consumer confidence and credit use both declining. This global phenomenon suggests that the economic challenges facing the US are part of a broader slowdown affecting multiple countries. The decline in credit card usage globally reflects a shared perception among consumers that the economic outlook is worsening. Whether driven by concerns about inflation, rising interest rates, or deteriorating labor market conditions, consumers worldwide are responding by tightening their financial belts. This global trend further supports the notion that the US is heading toward a period of economic contraction. As we look ahead, the data suggests that the US economy may be entering a recessionary phase. The steady decline in credit card usage, combined with weakening labor market indicators, points to a broader economic slowdown. While the Federal Reserve's efforts to manage inflation through interest rate hikes have had some impact, the deeper issue appears to be a weakening job market. Consumers are responding to this perceived weakness by reducing their reliance on credit, a behavior that is likely to continue as long as labor market conditions remain uncertain. This cautious approach is prudent, given the risks of job losses, reduced hours, and declining wages that may lie ahead. For policymakers, the challenge will be to address these labor market concerns while also managing inflation and other economic pressures. In times of economic uncertainty, credit card usage serves as a valuable barometer of consumer confidence and broader economic conditions. The decline in revolving credit over the past 6 months is a clear signal that consumers are preparing for tough times ahead. As the labor market weakens and job opportunities become scarcer, consumers are acting cautiously, reducing their use of credit and focusing on preserving their financial stability. This trend, consistent with past recessionary cycles, suggests that the US economy may be on the cusp of a downturn. While headline employment figures may paint a rosy picture, the underlying data, including credit card usage, tells a different story, one of caution, concern, and preparation for what lies ahead. As the economy continues to evolve, the behavior of consumers and their use of credit will remain a key indicator of the health of the labor market and the broader economy.